Hi, my name is Mateo, also go by Crownless King SK or Crownless King 104, and I'm here to tell you that you would be hard pressed to find more loving and more supportive community than writers community on the Twitter community, sorry. And within this community, you would be it will be quite achievement to find someone more supportive, more loving, and more willing to help than my friend Kayla. She's literally big sister of the community. She's anime onesan of us hustling writers or writers wannabe. She's always there with support. She's always there with advice. And most of all, instead of telling people like me they should stop their silly, stupid ideas, she indulged them, such as when I asked her to do interview with me. Because I've decided I've read a bunch of interviews, bunch of podcasts with cool, successful writers, which makes sense. It's who we all strive to be. But it hit me that most of us are still in trenches and we can learn a lot from each other. I learned just from chatting or emailing or tweeting with my fellow writers, either on Twitter or Reddit, mostly on Twitter right now, about as much as I learned from studying my successful idols and heroes, and I could not find better way than to start with Kayla. Kayla, of course, being angel she is, she indulged me. Original idea was to do it through either through Skype or Discord or something like that. But one, she didn't feel well thinking about it on the spot. Two, we live in different parts. I believe she's in America. At least that's what I assume. I'm from Slovakia. I assume everyone is American. I'm of course in Slovakia, which so sadly our heroes fighting for truth still didn't fix time cube. People who are trying to show us truth about Earth being flat. But as much as important it is, Kayla being Kayla had a great idea that I would send her questions and she would have time to answer as well as she wanted. And she had her time, she had time to think through answers. I didn't realize at the time it makes it very convenient for both of us. English is not my first language. I can write in English. Talking is pretty bad. Also, I'm dyslexic, so for two of you watching this is time to jump out. Without further ado, I was really looking forward to this. I finally have time, about after a week since Kayla, again being awesome, Kayla sent me her answers. And we are going to go to this short but really awesome interview. Thank you for tuning in, and this is Kayla. First question I ask Kayla is, tell us about yourself, and she answers, my name is Kayla and I am writer. And pretty cool one to that, that's just my addition. Kayla continues, I have a day job, but I don't define myself by it. I love to write and want to make that my full-time career. I live in southwestern part of United States and love the spring and fall weather more than summer or winter. I don't have any pets but love dogs and cats and get along with most I meet. Well, that already is shocking answer. Angel of Twitter is loved by cats and dogs. And also you're from Southwestern, huh? All I know about America is from TV show and podcast, and I understand that is cool part of America. Second question. When was the earliest you remember being interested in storytelling? Kayla answers, I remember being in elementary school, about 8 or 9 years old, and having creative writing assignments. I love to make up stories and write them down. And that love led me all the way to graduating college with bachelor's degree in English with focus on creative writing. Thank you for answer. I wish I studied English more. Now to think of it, I was in the proper class, but after high school, but I didn't finish it. And I'm gonna jump here. I'm gonna make my own little comments on the answer, so it's just not so that at least I can pretend I did some work on this interview. We don't even have creative courses, but in my country, where we had it, we had Slovak language 5 times a week, and we have two for literature, two for grammar, and one on Friday was something we called slot, which was basically 1 hour of creative writing, and that was my favorite time of entire high school, and it was on a Friday. Next question. What is your favorite book and how it shaped your style? Kayla answers. I honestly don't have single favorite book. I don't think I could even list a top 5. But my style is influenced most by stories that are easy to pick up and read. I like it when the narrator feels like someone I'm sitting next to on a cool evening and just listening to them tell a story. I have harder time with books that are overflowing with exposition, excessive world building, or uses a fantasy language filled with words and names that are difficult to pronounce. If I have to stop reading and think about what's on the page, it takes me away from the story, sorry. And that's what I try to avoid in my own writing. There were a couple Star Wars books I'd read which had effect on me. They were Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina and Tales from Jabba's Palace. There were anthologies with different stories by different authors, each about different characters in the Star Wars movies. What I loved about this was the even though each character had their own life and story to tell, each of those stories would come back to the mentioned scene in Star Wars movies, bringing everything together. I love how it all felt so individual but interwoven at the same time. That's the answer. Kayla gotta tell. I absolutely love anthologies. I absolutely love what you're saying about excessive world building because I agree, world building is important. Sanderson teaches it, and hard to argue with that guy. But when I'm halfway through reading a thriller and huffalafafaf needs to sit down in a restaurant so we can spend 10 pages talk about what type of food they cooking instead of, continuing to save the world or save Queen or whatever. That just feels, honestly, as per usual, I won't be as nice as Kayla. World building, in my opinion, like everything in the story, should exist if it enhances story. In Powder Mage, which is one of my own favorite book, in Powder Mage 2, they tell when between war, there's war between country Edro, which are good guys, and Cares, and there's scene where Field Marshal Thomas is looking at the Cares army, and he points out that only 1 in 5 Cares is using musket, but that still won't help them because there's so many of them. That is war building, but it also tells us that Adro, with their powder mages and snipers and new tactics, are vastly superior to Cares. They're in what I would say in our world context, I would almost say that Adro is like Napoleonic France going against 12th century Mongols. Problem is like one Adran against, I think they said it's 1 to 50. So no matter how good are Adro snipers, cavalrymen, and artillery, they will run out of bullets eventually. Check out Powder Mage, everyone. Now let's back to interview. Favorite genre, I asked, and Kayla answers. I love mostly sci-fi fantasy. True, there are many fiction stories that are enjoyable too. My favorite stories are one with adventure and comedy. Yeah, that's. I have a hard time adding comedy to my stories, Skylar. But I'm not surprised you laugh. Yeah, this is Skylar's fan club, I know, but hey, she helped me a lot. I'm good, obvious, I should have said it at the beginning. We're getting better as we go. But I will definitely link her Twitter in comments and you should check her out and follow her because she's awesome. Most hated genre, I asked, and Kyle answers. There are all kinds of crime fiction. but I really don't like the ones with gratuitous. Oh my god, you know what I mean. Violence and shock value. Gratitude. For me, they feel like they highlight the darkest parts of humanity rather than sense of hope and growth, even if it's just within the fictional world. I feel same about horror. Some are very good, but I avoid the grittier and more violent ones. End of answer. I would add here that me and my best friend for years were saying that every medium has its garbage genre. For a long while, for video games, it were either tycoons or really bad first person shooters. For movies, it could be cheap action movies or really bad comedies. And for music, it could be, let's say, very untalented and label made pop music. And for books, me and said friends, a lot of people I talk to agree that garbage genres are crime stories and specifically murder mysteries, not because those cannot be good, but because A, with murder mystery, there is no middle ground. Like I said, I love Powder Mage 1 and 2. Powder Mage 3 is not as good, but it's still fun read. I love Kellen. I love some books for Sanderson more than others. I love Lukyanenko, some books more than others. With murder mystery, I feel you either write best book that was ever written in like past 20 years, or it just the whitest dry toast that you've ever had in your mouth. Because that's what you saw on TV, and that's for about century. Most people associated books with just murder mysteries, and because there's so many, people assume they're easy to read. And as it goes to hope, in my stories, I make them actually very dark and violent. In fact, I like to make and I decided not that long ago that my endings will never be 100% victory, or even quote unquote happy ending could be that villain won, but heroes get out alive, more or less. But if you don't, again, it's not even bringing up optimism or hope in it. I genuinely feel as a writer, making everything hunky dory and flowers, and when we became prom queen and save the world and cure cancer, as cheap that ending is, it's just different coin, different side of coin, and other one is everything is terrible. Everything is awesome and everything is terrible are just, in my opinion, just two very cheap and unimaginable endings. More so that everything is terrible is almost always just pretentious and edgy. When I read book when everyone wins and everything is awesome, at worst case scenario, writer just wanted to leave you feel happy and accomplished at the end of the book. In everything sucks endings, 9 times of 10, you can tell it's just for shock value. And I cannot respect that. So, Kayla, you get a point. Next question. Favorite trope, for those who don't know, good cliche. And Kayla answers. Seemingly nobody rises to heroic acts. I think the best heroes are the ones with something to lose and are still willing to take the challenge. End of answer. Absolutely agree with Kayla here. And it goes back what I just said about not, in my writing, not so awesome endings. Victory needs to be earned. And heroes who can just do it and there's no risk of losing family or losing relationship or losing money or getting injured. You're not a hero for doing something that's easy. No one respects that. Next question. Most hated cliche. Love is blind, Kyla answers. There's a difference between willing to overlook things and just being ignorant. End of answer. Thank you, Kyla. You nailed it. Am I only? Yeah, but at this point, it's almost cheap to go after these. Even, but people usually blame Disney for it, and even Disney themselves basically made one of the plot points of Frozen, whenever you love the movie or hate it, that there's a no, you are not marrying guy you just met, shut up. And there's something to it. Next question. Would you tell us about your first writing attempt? I've never successfully written something to be published, yet. My first attempt, I suppose, would be my senior thesis in college, in which I had a semester to write a novella and edit it to completion. I learned a lot through the experience with my teacher's help and guidance, and it was good enough to graduate, but I didn't have the discipline all those years ago to keep with it. I only learned how to do that within last year. On the other hand, my first successful writing attempt was a short story I wrote for Two Girls on the Bench podcast. They were participating in podcast event called All the Horror, hashtag All the Horror, and asked if I would contribute to their Halloween episode with a story that would take about 15 minutes to read. My first idea was about a woman who was rescued from a cult and being deprogrammed, but this turned out to be too long to fit their show's needs. It took me a couple of weeks, but I finally turned my idea around and wrote about the woman who was kidnapped and being prepared for cult sacrifice. I don't usually write scary/horror stories, and while this one has some of lighter Kayla-ness spin on it, I like what I came up with. As a bonus, the two girls read the story together, trading off different characters and included music and sound effects. My story had become an audio drama, and it was one of the most exciting things I have had happened. It can still be downloaded and heard on the 33rd podcast episode. End of answer. I will definitely link it in description. This sounds awesome. Hope you will get back to the deprogram thing in the future because that sounds like a really, really good idea. Once again, one of those ideas when you get mad that you didn't come up with it. I am. 50 minutes is pretty very good. Listen, I personally have to learn to write shorter, so I know how difficult it is. I will honestly tell that writing short stories that are good is much more difficult than writing longer ones, because you can always add a lot of filler, and that's never good. And this is success, and this is technically published. And listen, you're not published yet. I'm finished right now. I don't know what after today, but either today or tomorrow, I'm going to finish my sixth book. Only next one, I'm going to try to publish it. Freaking Sanderson, again, God, Jesus, savior of writing. He wrote 10 books before he published. Shed from Shadiversity wrote 9 books before he published, and even then he was self-published and he had awesome, successful YouTube channel to go along with it and help him propagate. This, Kayla, this is nothing short of great success, and you better start realizing it that you had not only you had read your story on podcast, they approached you. I think this little thing kind of missed or flew over your head, but this is big, Kayla. You are on the really good path right now. Next question. Would you tell us about your current VIP, work in progress? And Kayla answers. A month ago, I finished the first draft of my first completed novel ever, and that was so exciting, but also very difficult road for me. Now I've changed my focus and I'm writing 3 different types of short stories. 1. A series based on the observation of a sarcastic and hopefully funny character as she deals with mundane events in her life. 2. I had done writing prompts in the past and written short 300 to 500 word creations based on them. Now I'm going back and turning those prompts writing into full-length short stories. 3. I'm writing a tandem story with a friend who has been trying to get more involved with writing again. We each take turn telling part of the story and trade off to the other to trade off to the other to write the next. It's about a group of three friends on a day hike in the woods and discover an un Kala, you know I'm a moron. Why are you using big words? Unidentifiable object in their path. End of answer. This is awesome. As again, I would comment first, first a series of observation from sarcastic character. It's always difficult to write this because there's a difference between being sassy and being bitchy. But knowing you, I don't think you will have problem with that. Basically, easy trick I would say is to make sure that your character has redeeming quality and this she doesn't do this just to hurt people. Even in real life, there's a big difference between telling jokes to make people laugh, even dark jokes, even sarcastic jokes, and having intent of hurting someone. Which again, I'm pretty sure you know this, and knowing you as I do and knowing your writing, you won't have problem with this. But this idea reminds me a lot of webcomics and webtoons I read. Out of my head, something like Sarah Scribbles, or even some characters in Let's Play webcomic where character just goes to their daily grind, like you said, just silly things and turns them into joke. And especially specifically said mundane events in her life. A lot of great comedians. Everyone can make fun of politicians. Everyone can make fun of celebrities. But it's really something else when you can take something that when you can take like Coffee Mac, or when you can take waiting for bus to arrive and turn that into story or turn that into joke. Best comedians do it like this. Rogan does it like this. I would say Jimmy Carr makes one-liners, that's something different, but Bill Burr does it like this when not only they're funny, but you listen to their jokes and then you're thinking, hold on, he wasn't talking about something heartbreaking. He was talking about going on vacation and turned it into like dark, awesome, sarcastic joke. How do you does that? How do you do that? And I really hope you will publish this if you want because this sounds awesome. Second one, writing prompts. Since writing prompts and turning them into stories. Since I was, I think before high school, it's gonna be about 7 to 10 years right now. I had one big notepad on my computer where I was just writing down random ideas. Some of them I use for books, and this is what I tell everyone. Always write down your ideas. Doesn't matter how silly, how bad, how stupid, because one, you will forget. You think you won't, but you will forget. Two, not only one of those ideas could be good without you realizing them. You could combine and my ideas for two next books, I literally combined nonsensical ideas that were unusable on their own and combine them into something that is a really good idea. Also, in my current work in progress, and Kayla again praised me for that, and as you might be, you really won't be surprised. First time I had this idea, I tweeted it and asked Kayla to tell me her opinion. I was relieved when she liked it. And idea was I had one character that ended up being more important than I initially planned and wanted to turn him into rival for current main character. Instead, but that character just was a bit too bland. So instead, in next draft, I'm gonna replace Ricardo, the new rival character for our main character Lars. I'm gonna replace him with Cyril, which is main character of one of my unpublished abandoned works, which it wasn't like I gave up. I got about 100,000 words in and I decided it wasn't good enough, so it wasn't again not giving up, I just decided to put it at the back burner, and it turns out my right next work, I'm gonna take main characters for unpublished book and use them to be side character or secondary protagonist of this one. And Kyla does even something better when she does short story out of every idea. I had few hundreds of them, and I don't think I rarely even read through them. Kala is being smart. Also, she can write short story, which again, 3 to 500 words is more difficult than 100,000 words. Trust me. Getting your point across in few words is more difficult, and this I should probably do this. I'm no kidding because I am overwriter. I'm just getting through this in the current state, and Kayla had great idea of sharpen herself like a sword, with forcing herself to do short stories and get better look on her past ideas. And third one, writing tandem. I had few games on Twitter with friends. I think with you, Kayla, too, when we just did this through either tweets or direct messages. But I gotta say, seeing and having to work with other writer, especially if that writer has different styles and different priorities, it forces you to sharpen. There's big difference, even if it's not the plan of, oh yeah, two of us will write book together. This thing will forces you again to sharp your own style, and you will force yourself to be creative because you need to work around other person. Sounds like a good idea. Also, going on hike is already scary, and I can already tell I couldn't be character because if I'm in woods with bunch of friends and we see something weird, I'm just like, screw you guys, I'm going home. Or I'm going for the next question. Do you learn from previous works or drafts? If so, what have you learned? Kayla answers, absolutely. From each of my past experiences, I have learned a lot about writing a story as well as how to make my writing experience better. I'm participating in NaNoWriMo challenge last year, in which writers work to create 50,000 word novel in 30 days. I failed to meet my goal, but succeeded in realizing how much writing I'm comfortable with, and only 2 weeks later began goal of writing 500 words a day. Personal challenge I have not yet broken for over 250 days and counting. I have also learned from previous writing how to set up story better, what makes a detail worth keeping versus being too excessive, and better ways to create relatable characters. There's always something new to be learned from every new writing experience. End of answer. Kyle, this is true, and this is how I start noticing Kyle. I mean, follow some like, but when I really start paying attention to her, she doesn't break it. Sometimes it's 500, sometimes it's 1,000, sometimes it's 501 word. Kayla hustles like a freaking soldier. Take a note. Again, Kayla is not as mean as me. We need people like Kayla, and I believe we need people like me too. Less so, but we do. We need to tell people who tell, and I don't want to get political, but I got into arguments with people who don't like who's a president, and that's why they couldn't write their fiction. Shut the hell up. Sit down. Start writing. I don't care who's president. I don't care what writers is outside. You want to be writer? You are writing. Do it. And Kayla, when you follow her, check her out, put notification. You will see 500 words might not seem like much at the first, but guess what? One word every day is more than 1,000 words sometimes. And Kayla, 500 actually, that's over a page. That's a book a year, easily. And she keeps hustling, she keeps going, but while a lot of people just complain and feel sorry for themselves. Take a hint, people. Next question. Can you share with us a specific scene or element of your story that you are proud of? Kayla answers. Without going into too much detail with spoilers, I'm really proud of how I decided on story for my novel. Few years ago, I made attempt at writing again and was working with several different ideas. I tried to use one idea to create story, but I couldn't keep my interest going with it. Same with another. But when the time came to start my novel last year, I reconsidered those two ideas, figured out how to combine them into the same story, and it became complex and interesting enough to carry a novel all the way to the end. I am very proud of that. End of answer. That's what I was talking about. Kayla knows her deal. Don't erase don't shift delete your previous work. Don't be pretentious wounded author who will eat or burn their novel because they cannot see it. No, put it in the back burner, put it in the shelf, keep it in the back of your brain. The time will come. If you have whole book that hasn't published, but you have one sentence that could be used elsewhere, it's good. It makes it worth it. Combine them, make yourself better. Remember that. Next question. You agreed to a blind date, and it turns out it's MC from your story. Where are they taking you? How will the evening go? And Kyla answers, Ha! Well, my MC is therapist and life coach by day, and heroic vigilante by night. So I think a date would be a sidewalk cafe where there's a lot of opportunity to sit and chat to get to know one another. When then later we'd move on to walk someplace like a city park, and there's a good chance I'll be left alone if there's cries for help and hero is suddenly needed. Lol. End of answer. Kyla, I know I've been brown nosing over you for this whole time, but I don't know if this is how you get the idea, but there's always either in universe or through fans or through critics point that superheroes and vigilantes must be crazy people. Vigilante, that's a therapist. That's the most awesome idea I heard in a while. Like someone, I don't know, someone asked her, are you sure this vigilante isn't crazy? Like, oh my, I cannot wait till this thing is done, and I hope you publish it, if it's okay with you, because won't lie to you, everyone is saying that Batman needs psychiatrists. Everyone is saying that Arrow is dangerous for society. Everyone, including fans, thinks that Frank Castle is a psychopath because, well, he is. Sorry, I'm kind of burnt. Am I wrong, people? Therapist slash vigilante. Kyla, I think you may. Nothing hurts people like too much. Hope is good, but let's not pander to people. Just keep it calm and sad. Kyla, you have some pretty neat ideas. Yeah, Jesus. Next question. What character or characters by authors would you spend your birthday with? By other authors. Authors would you spend your birthday with? Describe how will it go? Kyla answers, I'm a big fan of Disney, but I also appreciate where some of their characters come from. I'd love to spend my birthday with Wendy and Tinkerbell from Peter Pan novel by J. M. Beery and Alice from the Alice in Wonderland novel by Lewis Carroll. I would want to meet them after they'd had their experiences in the books so that I could listen to their version of all that they've been through and feel whisked away in the story of it all. End of answer. That's a pretty good pick. I'm not familiar with Peter Pan, but listening to Alice, how the hell does a woman run out of stories? Or how the hell does that woman run out of things to say? Wonderland, like not making fun, not going for the cheapest joke and make complain to the psychedelic experience, because technically it is. But if you look, if Alice from Wonderland would be real, every story, even the most true to life story, is just fragment of what actually happened. If this is story we got, imagine what kind of things Alice could tell us that didn't make it to the book. That would be good. That would be good tea party for sure. Next question. Any historical or otherwise real life events that inspire you or continue to do so? Kayla answers. My parents have always been supportive and raised me with attitude that you can be anything you want if you work at it. In addition to me already enjoying writing, my dad had taken one of the stories I've written in grade school and pinned it over the desk at his work. Oh my god. It was very short fantasy story and how the stars were created. I'll always remember that it looked like having my story displayed like that, and it still affects me to this day. End of answer. Oh my god, this is so sweet. And I'm starting to see where you come from. Oh, okay, moving on. Better moving on. Next, and your parents sounds like awesome people. Not surprised how you came out. Next answer. Any non-book inspiration or influence for your writing? Movies, video games, TV shows, or such? Kyla answers. I can easily lose myself in other people's stories, especially in movies or TV lore. My biggest influences are Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Marvel, and Disney. I don't play as much video games as I used to, but I did prefer those with full story behind them, and those have certainly had influence on me too. This is more. I was actually surprised by it because this is more sci-fi. Even Marvel, I would say, more characters are created by science than magic. Disney is there for adventure, but now to think of it, Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, like sci-fi, they have a lot of discovery and a lot of even at the darkest moments. You know, all of them actually. Star Wars, Star Trek, Who, Marvel, Disney. All of them, I would say, are famous for the fact that no matter how dark they are, there's always some smile in that. Which again, now I see connection between that and your attitude to writing or things in general. There's that quote. Who was it? Yeah, Josh Whedon, God Commander of Nerds, also did Buffy, did Dollhouse, did Angel, a lot of things. Firefly, which was definitely not a ripoff of that one anime. Just saying. But Whedon, I have a lot of respect for him, and I don't agree with everything to him, and especially don't agree how people misuse his advice. But he always said, "Make it dark, make it cruel, make it sad, but then, for God's sakes, tell a joke." And yeah, you can keep comedy all the way through, but you cannot keep sadness all the way through. It just becomes grueling, and there's a risk that people will stop having fun. So even when writing horror or writing thriller, that's always good to give a little bit breather. Because whatever comes next, even with action, give a little bit of breather and everything that comes next has that much more impact. Next question. Hobbies other than writing? And Kyla answers. I used to draw pretty well by freehand and have been long out of practice. I like to start again. But right now, with my day job taking most of my waking hours through the week, if I'm not writing, then I'm probably watching a movie. I also love traveling though, and I don't do it often. I keep in shape with dance, cardio, and Zumba, and I visit local arcade regularly to play on their dance games. With friends, I'll go out to movies, have dinner, or go play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm also close to my immediate family and visit parents several times a week for card games. Now, this I don't do Zumba or dancing. I always wanted to try Dungeons and Dragons because it doesn't exist in my country and it's been my dream for years since I found out what it is. First time my friend told me about Dungeons and Dragons, he specifically said that Americans have this game that is like a board game but you tell a story and my brain just I couldn't wrap my head around that. But as far as Zumba and cardio, a lot of people in writing community might find this advice odd, but I gotta tell you, as Elliot Hull says it, body is mind, mind is the body. And I found it in myself that exercise really makes you creative. Not only it helps with depression or sadness or even physical exhaustion. It sounds counterproductive, but when you're tired after work, working out for as much as 20 minutes does help you. I usually try to do some weightlifting every day. Now I finally took advice and take it as 1 or 2 days off. But personally, I don't do cardio. I hate that thing. Yeah, I need to force myself. But I lift weights and I could be tired as that, but some hour of weightlifting and I come home and I have energy either to record or to write. So I would definitely recommend that. And I'm glad that you're so close to your family. That really helps. I had some bad relationship, but in my with my dad, with dad and stepmom, we usually play darts. So I can see, and again, sounds like not much, but having some games with people you love, that's definitely something. Next, next question. Skills or talents other than writing? And Kayla answers, I don't spend a lot of time cooking in the kitchen, but I'm messing with charcoal grill. End of answer. That's awesome, Kayla. Grilling is like whole other thing than normal cooking, which is also awesome and absolutely great. Next question. How do you deal with writing fears and doubts? And Kayla answers, whenever I feel stuck with the story, I'll just stop current plot and put my characters into a completely different situation. Whenever I feel stuck with the story, I just stop the current plot and put my characters into a completely different situation. Then I can improvise where the new story goes without having to worry about it making sense in the original story I was working on. On very rare occasion, I'll have something I can use, but most of the time, the new unrelated scene will have to be removed. But the experience will give me new idea of what kind of person my character is, and might even inspire me on how I should really write the main story's next scene. For fears and doubts about publishing, I have not yet started trying to become published, and I feel that when I do, I know that there's a very large number of writers doing the same thing, and I just need to remember that I write because I love it. If I write just to be published, then it just becomes work, and I don't want to lose joy. I'll find the right publisher for me sooner or later. End of answer, and it is pretty good one. First of all, putting characters in different situation. I know Color Your Panzer, I'm moving from penciling more to outlining, but I stand by saying that people should learn both, at least try both styles. And this, I'm gonna steal this. I'm telling you right now. Even if I don't actually write it, even if I keep in my outline, at least imagine characters in different situation will definitely help you see them better, get them know better. And guess what? Then that way characters will. You know, I'm gonna talk about this with you, but this warrants whole different podcast, putting characters in different situation. That's a great idea. Um, that publishing thing, I would like to say that I am very yang type of person. I'm really into no discipline, work, focus, work, discipline. But whenever I feel panic, and I had moments even just a week ago when I was just sitting and about to cry, I will never make it, never make it. And I realized if I'm gonna, I would rather stop breathing than stop writing. And this sounds counterproductive when again that my young, yin and yang, my dark, my young, my masculine, disciplined way of looking at things. I even Chet said it in one of the video not that long ago about his publishing. What writers need to realize, if you never get published and if you never make any money, would you be still writing? And I think if you lock me in the solitary for the rest of my life, but you let me think about my make up stories in my head, I would still manage to smile. And out of all things in my life, excluding obviously family and friends and things like that, health, loving writing actually again sounds counterproductive for at least for people who are like me and very young in terms of yin and yang, very young way of thinking, which is the dark part of circle. Loving, and I'm always for discipline. I'm always stop to complaining about writer's blog and go to work, but in the same time, loving writing will get you to the worst things in your life. And I'm an atheist, but if God exists, then writing fiction must be his greatest gift to us. Great answer, Kayla. Another question. Guilty pleasure you are willing to share? And Kayla answers, I absolutely love flavors of good food and sugary desserts. I enjoy my exercises, but part of the reason I work out so much is that so I can continue to indulge in my favorite high calorie pleasures. End of answer. Don't we all, Kayla? Don't we all? There's that new character from Overwatch. I never played the game, but I'm familiar with it. Like this thick but cute girl which has kettlebell. And I saw cosplayers. I saw, hold on, Tasha Lay cosplayer has really great cosplay of her, which is lady who has black tank top and picture is yellow kettlebell. But if you look better, kettlebell will turn into table with food on it, and under it is written I work out because I love to eat, and that is just a really good reason, isn't it? Yeah, should I ask you what sugary dessert? Because then again, that would be whole another podcast. You you nailed it. Next question. Any advice for other writers? Kyla answers. While there are good general guidelines on how to tell story and to do so in the best grammatical way, the best advice I remember is there's no method that's best for everyone. I write 500 words daily. Some writers write thousands of words over a weekend. Others do full novel sprints so quickly that would put NaNoWriMo to shame. You have a story to tell, and the best way to do is in the way you feel most comfortable with. If you are trying to force it, then the story will read forced. Let your readers share in the joy and laugh of your story the same as you do. End of answer. Really good answers that hits me kinda hard because I find myself recently that I pride myself on writing a lot of fast and I pride myself of finishing fast, but I caught myself in this. It's just first draft, but I caught myself on caring more about finishing book than making it fun, and that's just hellhole and it's creative suicide. So thank you for saying this. It's a hard advice and advice that makes me look at myself, but I'm glad that you gave it. You gave it to others, but this one without realizing it, maybe you gave something very important to me. And if I can jump in, you're very nice and respectful when pointing out that everyone has their own style, but I would say your style of writing 500 words daily, I tell people that you should write every sentence one day. That keeps you in writer's mind. Again, some people need to turn it off and come back stronger, but your style, like I said before, really, really like it, and that's what I would recommend to everyone. Next and final question. We ask, what stories or other project can we expect from you in the future? And Kyla answers, right now I'm focused on my two short story series that I'm working on and hoping to start publishing as more stories get completed. I'm also collaborating with another group on a project they are working on. It's still secret for now. Ooh. And hope also be included in future projects they are doing. And then eventually I'll come back to my novel and begin the process of rewriting and editing it towards its final draft. End of answer. Kyla, this sounds awesome. I know that you're writing in times of recording your short stories. And again, it was always Anne's question that most people get to write short story, write short story. I ignored that advice in my life. I think I wrote two short stories before I wrote the entire book, and that's not necessarily good. I have become overwriter, and again, in my young way of thinking, not young as a young person, even though my dark masculine way of thinking, love masculinity, not against it, but in terms of yin and yang, my discipline, mechanic, go for it. I became extreme overwriter, and like I said, for years I cared more about finishing chapter or finishing page or finishing book than I cared about actually saying something. And that almost killed my writing career before it even started. I'm looking forward to your future projects. I wonder about the collaboration. And for a little bit, you told me about your current work. It sounds really awesome. So good luck with short stories. And right now, I don't write short stories per se. If I can jump in, but I switched to. I basically gave myself border that right now I'm writing very short chapters. 2,000 words is a maximum. I wrote in current work of project. usually I would write, with my first book, I would have 80 pages long chapters because I didn't know any better. Right now, I give myself 2,000 words, which is around 5 or 6 pages with me. Where it's all dialogue, and could be up to 10, but usually not. In my entire book right now, which again I'm basically about to write, and I have one chapter who goes up to 4,000 words, and even then, I I can basically point finger here and split into 2 or 3. Two, 3 would be probably more likely, and must say it really helped me. Some people are underwriters, some people are overwriters. Again, everyone is different, but in my experience, you can always add flashback. You can always add flashback that explains something. You can always add world building. You can always add backstory for character. You can always add action scene. You can always add last scene. You can always add characters chilling and talking. You can always add establishing chapter, like establishing of country or countryside. You can always add description. So, not to diminishing problems other people have. I know a lot of people feel like they write too short drafts, but you can always add stuff. But if you like me and you write multiple books, and this happens, if you write 300,000 long book and realize that you could have wrote it in 10 pages and you would lose nothing, that's a whole another kind of one. So either writing short chapters, again, some people find it controversial, or writing short stories. I wish I did it in past, and Kayla, you are onto something. Doing short stories and go even 300 and 400, 500, like people get excited. Like when I have time, I can write 10,000 words a day, but that is not good because 10,000 words a day doesn't mean there's anything worth of saying. And in one of the earlier answers, and getting excited and talking fast, sorry, in one of the earlier answers, Kayla said 300 to 400 mini stories about her ideas. If you forgive me, Kayla, I think I stole this idea, even though I didn't publish it. I will go through my backlog and probably write at least scene of each thing, maybe as a blog post or something. But that sounds like sharpening the blade, and I really need to do more for that. So this was supposed to be podcast, interview with you, and advice for others. But while still recording, I think you helped me more than. I hope this podcast will help anyone half as much as it helped me. Not even talking about the fact that you indulged me in this crazy idea. Thank you so much, Kayla. You're the best. You're a big sister of writing's community, and I hope more people will realize just awesome you are from this. I will try to find that podcast where you were on and link to it. I will, sorry, hour of recording seems to be my limit. We are on 53 minutes. I will link your Twitter and everyone listening to this, for Christ's sake. Check out Kayla, look up her work, and feel, and go ahead. And we're gonna vote, yin and yang. Nice answer. Something that Kayla would say that I feel is, feel free to have fun with me. Feel free to have inspired. You know what I say? If you're a lazy writer, which some of us are, and I consider myself really lazy, go look up Kayla and feel lazy seeing how much she works and how she always, I did my writing today. Done. And I feel so pumped. And whenever you look at it like, oh, this is sweet, or whenever you like me and go, oh my God, I need to get off my ass and do something. Yin or yang, light or dark, loving or hardworking, check out Kayla and feel fucking inspired. Thank you for listening and stay awesome.